Hello, guys. This is a review of the movie No Hard Feelings. I had a chance to watch this movie in theaters not too long ago. Before I get started, I want to mention that I have been going through some difficult times these past few months, undergoing a lot of personal hardship. So, this is me trying to get back in the groove. Let's see how it turns out. Like usual, we're gonna talk a little bit about the plot, what the story's about, and then I'll get into my opinions about the film, or maybe I'll inject an opinion here and there. No Hard Feelings stars Jennifer Lawrence, who plays Maddie. Maddie's a 32-year-old who lives in a beach house she inherited from her mom. She is struggling to pay the taxes for the property, and she fears that she's gonna lose it because she makes most of her money Ubering and they just towed her car. Now, she hates tourists because she knows that that's the reason why the taxes are going up, but she needs them in order to pay it off. So she sees an ad where these rich parents are looking for a young woman to date their 19-year-old son named Percy. Percy's very shy, he's antisocial, he doesn't have a girlfriend, he doesn't want to get his license, and he's going to Princeton, so his parents feel like he needs to, you know, claw his way out of that shell so that he doesn't get eaten alive. Maddie, at first, she's like, is it even real? What is this craziness? But she musters up the courage to go and meet up with the parents. She skates her way there because she doesn't obviously have a car yet. The people are offering a car in exchange for the young woman to date their son. So she convinces them, even though she's a little older than what they were expecting, and they let her know, hey, he can't know anything about this, so you have to make it look as natural as possible, like, oh, it was just coincidence. They let her know that he volunteers at a pet adoption center, and she goes there like before I continue, I mean, Jennifer Lawrence looks great. It's so awesome to see her back in movies. I know that she had a baby. I was rewatching this movie with my mom not too long ago, like 3 days ago, and she was like, "Isn't that the girl that shoots the arrows?" And I'm like, "Yeah, the Hunger Games, of course." And then now, like, I mean, look how time flies sometimes. I remember vividly, and I still haven't reviewed that the Hunger Games either, but I was so young and she was so young. I mean, I guess we're still young, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy to see her back. She looks great. She's, always delivering, very talented actress. Anyway, let's keep going. At first he feels Percy's like, is this a kidnapper? Is this a serial killer? So he pepper sprays her. And it's one of the funniest scenes in the movie, in my opinion. But then she convinces him, hey, no, I like you. So he invites her off to dates. They go on a few dates, and from the get go, obviously, Percy's interested in her. Not only sexually, but romantically. Like, he feels for her. And Maddie, despite her, from the very beginning, we see that she's a player. She's always like messing with guys, like having sex with them, never calling them back. Once they get too attached, she just runs away. And she starts realizing that this is a real friendship. What she feels for Percy is not just a job, commitment to do this and that, but more so like getting to know a person who's also interested in getting to know her, even though she's very afraid of that. And we come to find later on in the movie that the reason why, even though she's been wanting to go to California for a while, the reason why she stays, she says that it's because it's her mom's house and she doesn't want to lose it. But really, it's because her dad was had a family in another place, and he would go there and have this second family. So when they found out, from what I remember, from what I understood from the movie, his lawyers ended up making a deal with Maddie's mom where she gets to keep her house but stay out of his business. Maddie wrote a letter to her dad asking why he didn't want anything to do with her, and he returned the letter unopened, which is like really effed up, and it's why she fears commitment and is also why she stays there, because in the back of her mind, she hopes that one day he'll go look for her, and she knows that that's a place that he knows that she's in. But anyway, in the end, Percy finds out, and it's this whole big drama thing. Like, there's so many cute scenes. The build up is beautiful, very romantic, and very friendly, because it's not really a romance movie. I mean, only on from Percy's side, if that makes any sense, because he's the one that believes that this is all real. And the friendship was real in the end, obviously. Maddie learns to let go, and she sells her home to her best friend so that they don't have to go to Florida, I think. And Percy goes up to Princeton ready to take on the world. They end up as friends, even though Percy finds out the truth in the end. Now let's start with my opinions about the movie. I thought the movie was very funny. From the moment I sat down in the theater, I knew what I was getting into. This movie reminds me a lot of Bad Teacher, starring Cameron Diaz, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So anytime I compare anything to Bad Teacher, you know that it's going to be great. If this is your type of movie, you know, the raunchy adult type of rated R movies, and then this is it. It's like American Pie, you know, Euro Trip. And I mean, once you get into, if you follow Jennifer Lawrence's career, once you walk into a theater knowing that she's the star of the movie, you really expect a lot. I remember seeing her in Mother as well, and I didn't like Mother very much. I think I sold it, but but anyway, knowing that this was a comedy, I was actually expecting a little bit less, and it delivered. Um, the acting was great. The guy, I think his name, Percy's character, the actor that plays Percy's character, his name is Andrew. And at first, so there's a scene near the I think the first date where they go to a bar and he starts drinking, whatever. They overhear Man Eater playing in the background. The one that she only comes out at night. And it's a very, very famous song. And he's like, "Oh, I've always been scared of that song. It's like about a monster that eats men." And I don't really think that that's what the song is about. And then a couple of dates later, when they go to their prom, they go to this fancy restaurant. He picks her up in a limo. Percy, I mean, picks up Maddie. They're having dinner, and Maddie forces him to play a song in the piano. At first, when I was watching it for the very first time in theaters, I didn't really know if he was actually playing, because you know a lot of movie magic and angles and stuff. But it turns out that it was him. So I mean, he's a very talented singer, very talented musician, apparently. It's one of the most emotional scenes in the movie, because the lyrics from the song, if you don't know it, just look up Man Eater lyrics. It should pop. It should be the first one to pop up. And it was basically describing what Maddie was doing to him. And so the innocence, you know, that's what gets you, because he's blinded by her, and she needs a service, but she's also under a lot of stress. And unknowingly, he's literally singing to the Man Eater what the Man Eater is going to do to him. This is very emotional, because on top of everything that's going on for him, and for us to know what's going on with him and what's going to happen to him, the heartbreak, I mean, we also could see how Maddie feels terrible for doing this, but it's something that she has to do. It explores so many things. For example, young people on their phones, young people in social media, and a time that we're living in, which is very the whole cancel culture type of stuff. There's a scene in the movie. I feel, I mean, in my opinion, it makes reference to it, but it's not just in your face and constant and very preachy. For example, Maddie ends up going to a party because she tells Percy that long distance is something that she can't do. So he's like, then what are we doing? Well, what do you want from me? So he ends up going to this party, high school kids going off to college, and they call her grandma this and that, and she makes a homophobic joke, which is, you know, sometimes people just have certain words that they use because they grew up in that environment, but they don't really mean the literal definition, in the dictionary of whatever word that they're using. I'm not saying that it's correct to use it, but it's definitely not as big of a deal as a lot of people make it seem. So I like that in the movie she goes, "No, I'm not homophobic. I've kissed a girl," like, because a lot of people use that as an excuse, and they really are homophobic. So I mean, it's not, this suit doesn't fit all, but there are certain situations in the real world that I personally believe are taken out of proportion and just twisted, just to make a big deal out of nothing. She mentions how people are having their phones in her face and like recording her. She's like, I don't give a poop, like you could record me, I don't care. Which is uh very brave of her, and very brave of people that are like Maddie, that just live their life and they do what they feel they want to do, without really having to check, and am I is this going to be this, is this going to be that. It's always good to be respectful and to be aware, but there should be, like I said, a little bit of um, normal punishments, and not this astronomical, oh my gosh, cancel them, the end of the world, nobody hire them, because it's just crazy, honestly. Anyway, I went into detail because that's, I feel like the movie does make mention, like I said, to those things, but not in a like in your face type of way. The movie is enjoyable. It doesn't go here, it doesn't go there. It is what it is. It follows, I feel, the Maddie's personality, which is very rebellious, and she has a can-do attitude, and the movie follows that vibe, which is very enjoyable. One of the other funny scenes in the movie was when Percy tells Maddie that the only other person that he felt connected to, or something like that, was Jody, his nanny. And they're like, "Oh, we're gonna meet her at the lighthouse. Let's go." And Maddie's like, "Okay, sure." She's expecting to see maybe an elderly lady or a young woman, and it turns out to be like this middle-aged guy. He's like, uh, what are you trying to do with Percy? Something like that. She's like, the same thing as you. I'm trying to date him. And obviously, like, I'm not doing it justice. You have to see it for yourself if you haven't already done so. If you have, then you know how that was so funny. There's another one where Percy's coworker, he's like, "Oh, I can't leave because it's definitely not allowed here. I could get fired." And he's like, well, Maddie goes up to him. He's like, "Oh, you could finish by yourself. I'm sure you do it all the time." And it's so constant, but it also gives us so much substance with the romantic story, and I should say quote unquote romantic story that develops. And it also gives us a little bit of anxiety, thinking what's gonna happen when he finds out, because it's a matter of when, not if, especially with these type of movies, is the whole purpose. But the whole comedic genre which this movie falls under, it's well used. It's not a dumb movie. For the most part, these type of movies tend to be really dumb, and I don't mind dumb if the creators purposefully make it dumb. And it's enjoyable, it's fun, it's lighthearted. Sorry, lighthearted. That's fine. But I see a problem when you feel like the creators wanted to take it into a very serious direction with a lot of comedy and fart jokes, but then it ends up being very dumb, or the performances are not up to par with what they wanted, etc. But in this case, I feel like they did a perfect job leveling everything under the comedy umbrella, but still giving us all of these other pieces and never making it feel like they just crammed everything together. From what I've read, which I haven't read much, but I have read a few comments here and there on YouTube, and everybody seems to be very happy with the movie. I saw some interviews with Jennifer Lawrence and Andrew, and they also seem to have very good connection in real life, which really translated to the big screen. There are so many funny moments in this movie. I cannot name them all, or I'd be here for an hour. It's a lot of things. Like, for example, she fights off teenagers, naked at the beach. He like superplexes one of them, if I'm not mistaken. And in order to get the clothes back, and then Percy's like, "Did you beat up some teenagers?" He's like, "Well, what would you have done? Nothing." Um, it's so funny, the contradictions of Percy's like, she's like, they're walking down the beach, right? And she says, "I'm feeling like a little bit drunk, like it started, starting to catch up to me." And he's like, "Yeah, you really drank a lot." It's like, "No, I didn't." Like, isn't that awkward? That is like, you just have to watch the movie. Like right now, even remembering it brings a very big smile to my face because it's really good. I enjoyed it, and I feel like it's a grower too. Like after watching it over and over, you're gonna come to add it to your favorite comedies. I'd say so. At least if you're into this genre or subgenre of raunchy comedy, because if you're not into this genre or subgenre, I should say, then it's kind of a waste of time. Uh, Maybe not a complete waste of time because you might see, like I said, some other elements like the romantic story, the anxiety that it produces, knowing that they lied or Maddie's lying to Percy the entire movie basically. Maybe there's other things that you could pick up on, but I wouldn't recommend it for somebody who's not really into this subgenre. I think anybody though who, like I said, has watched American Pie, Euro Trip, Road Trip, Bad Teacher, Bad Moms, and they like those movies, then this is a perfect addition to to that collection if you also collect them like me. I would give this movie a rating of 9.5 out of 10 in its category. It has to be that high. It just has. I was thinking 9, but no. It deserves a 9.5 strictly in its category, of course. And yeah, let me know what you think if you also liked it as much as I did. That's it for this one. Thank you for watching.